ancient and wise Game Boy Micro of the Lost Forest, I come in search of wisdom.
Hey man, don't listen to him. He's old. Digital's the future. Wait, no, don't you dare cut that intro over me.
With the impending doom to the Nintendo 3DS eStore, it brings into question how services like Steam, Uplay, and Switch's Nintendo Online can continue to bring long-term value to us as customers. Back when I was a kid, the closest large town that had gaming shops was over an hour's drive away. We wouldn't venture out that far often, and rarely would such a trip actually include shopping for video games. So when it did happen, it was a big deal. I remember many times that the staff had forgotten to put the game's CD in the box, so after the trip home, I'd be met with the inevitable disappointment when I'd open the game box and only have the manual to read and no game to play. So you'd think with such levels of disappointment and first world hardship that I would be all for the convenience of digitally downloaded games, and for the most part you'd be right. However, I'm going to take some time to let you know why I personally feel that some of the digital games market is a giant trap, and why, if possible, you should try to avoid it. So, before I start broadsiding digital downloads, I just want to say, I get it. I get that it's easy to sit on a sofa and order a game or two. Digital downloads are often more expensive than physical copies, but once you factor in the cost of traveling to a store to buy the game and the cost of your time used to do so, it evens out most of the time. So if cost isn't the main factor in why I believe digital games are a trap, then what is? Well, for my example, I'm going to talk about Nintendo Switch Online, as it has some great positives of digital downloads, and to give this argument a fair fight, I feel it's a good choice. When you buy a game off the eShop, Steam, Uplay, and so on, you can immediately download the game. No need to wait days for a delivery to arrive, or for a car to drive back only to realize the game is missing. Yes, I am still going on about that. You buy the game, and you can immediately download your purchase through the modern wonders of technology at a speedy pace, effort-free. Another bonus is that your game is linked to your account, and if you were to lose your Switch, you would assumedly be able to log into your account on a new Switch and download all of your purchases. So what if its cost is high? In fact, you could wait for a sale and get all the advantages at a cheaper price. With your newly purchased game locked to your account, you now have a game that is difficult to lose access to, and also takes up no real physical space in your house. Okay, so you might not have enough storage space on your Switch for that new game, but you can just uninstall other games that you're not playing and install that new one. When you're done, you're free to switch back. It appears that they have thought of everything. This is great. Digital is great. Isn't it? In my eyes, there is one thing overlooked by most people that really, really needs addressing. And this segues into what I mentioned at the start of the video, the impending end of the 3DS eShop. Nintendo Online is a service. It exists for as long as Nintendo exists, and as long as they want to manage that service. The 3DS eShop closing gives us the reality check, and this isn't just a Nintendo problem. Xbox Store, Epic Game Store, Origin, even Steam could suffer the same problem. The truth of the matter is that these services do not last forever. In fact, in the example of the eShop, it has lasted a total of 9 years. Now, 9 years is a long time, but to help give this the context that's needed, if Pokemon Red was a digital-only release back in 1996, then it would have not been purchasable since 2005, which was 17 years ago. Where digital downloads suffer is that they rely on a central service to be convenient, but as soon as that infrastructure is gone, those products are very vulnerable. Physical copies can be lost, stolen, or damaged, and it's a fair counter-argument. However, the same is true for the device your game is installed on after the service is lost. If your PC is stolen, then they're gone as well, all in one convenient package. So you might be thinking, who cares? Yes, the service will eventually be lost, but I just care about playing the games now. Okay, I hear you, except it means you can't relive those games as easily in the future, and nor can others who haven't had the experience to play the game in the first place, because maybe they didn't have the time, the money, or maybe they hadn't even been born during the game's release. Should they get to miss out on gaming history just because of their age? When you buy a physical game, you're investing not just into the game, but also into the possibilities to play in the future, or to sell it to a new generation to play. In most cases, as we've seen with the secondary markets of all video games, there's a reasonable chance that you'll sell that game for more than you originally bought it for, assuming the game was any good. I think in the future, physical games will be worth more than old ones today, simply because more and more people choose digital downloads. For each digital download, there is one less game in circulation, and less being bought physically, which means that the companies will respond by printing fewer and fewer copies. It's simple supply and demand. If there are less of the things you want to buy, then the price of those things will go up as soon as demand for those products increases. We are all seeing this happen today with the secondary market for Game Boy Advance games. And this is coming from a time back when digital sales were not impeding on physical sales. I recently realized I've been guilty of this, thinking too short-sighted and buying digital when physical versions existed. It's easier to do, convenient, and gets me fast access to the games that I want to play. So recently I had a change of mind, and I got physicals of both Kirby and Chrono Cross for the Switch, because this is an investment into the future. If my future kids want to play Chrono Cross on hardware, they can play the Switch version. When Nintendo eventually stop their Switch service, I'll still be able to play the physical games, unimpeded from their collapse. Problem is, every ROM site that Nintendo takes down, while also not offering those games themselves, are games closer to being lost to time. And this will only become more of a problem. ROMs are still a great way to play games, but to do it legally, you're going to need a physical copy anyway. So, okay Ben, you've just told me that digital bad in some situations, but physical costs more. Are there any other advantages other than keeping it to replay or resell years later? As far as cost goes, I'm going to argue that it can be cheaper than digital. There are many groups, seller sites like eBay and such, where you can, if you decide, sell or trade your now second-hand game to someone else that wants to try it. You trade a game you don't really enjoy anymore, or have no future use for another that you might enjoy just as much. Now, not all games are equal, and not all games have a high trade value, but sometimes you can trade 2 old games for one you do want. By trading a game you have no interest in from your back catalogue, you're still providing a physical game into the pool of games that exist for trade, sale, and play. Not just for now, but the future also. So, what about GOG or other DRM-free places? Well, you might be asking, what does DRM-free even mean? A simple summary is that you download an installer for the game from a provider that you can install and use whenever and wherever you want. You're not tied to online checks or being confined to an ecosystem. DRM-free is obviously the best of both worlds. This means that you can back up the game installer onto multiple hard drives and play that game wherever you want, as long as you have some hardware to play it on. This primarily exists in PC gaming, and it's a very good solution for people, like myself, who worry that these services might close down in their lifetimes. I suppose what I'm really saying is that digital downloads are fine. They're convenient. Physical games are like investment opportunities. Good games age well and sell for more than you bought them for, and on top of that, there's the ability to trade those games or legally play them years down the line when online services much like the 3DS eShop are no longer in existence. Making the smartest purchases today will help your money go further, or even become profitable in the future. And hey, why not look after your future self, right?